What I learned after 12 years of marriage in 60 seconds, love is not enough. You need respect, you need safety, you need consistency. Love without effort will still leave you lonely. Marriage does not fix communication problems. It exposes them. If someone doesn't listen while you guys are dating, they won't magically start after the wedding. Okay, being low maintenance is not a flex. It just teaches people how little they have to do to keep you. You should never have to beg for the bare minimum, okay? That's not partnership. That's survival. Silence is also communication. If people avoid hard conversations, they're telling you everything you need to know. You can love someone deeply and still choose yourself. Staying too long teaches people that your boundaries are negotiable. And the biggest lesson of all, peace is priceless. If it costs you your peace, your self-worth, it is too expensive.
Emphasis on if it costs you your peace, it is too expensive. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Joy. Thank you all for tuning in once again. So on today's video, some women are spilling the truth. Spilling all the tea on marriage. Some divorced women, of course. Women that have experienced marriage, they've been in marriages, and for some reason, it was not for them and they opted out. They're spilling all the lessons they learned from their previous marriages. Personally, I've never been married, so I'm going to be taking notes as well. So yeah, let's get into the video.
So the number one lesson that I have learned since leaving my husband and dropping out of my marriage is that just because a woman has the ring and the husband does not mean that she is winning. I used to look at these women with such envy, but then after being married myself, and then after talking to many married women that have been with their men 15, 20, 25, 30 years, these women are being cheated on. These women's nervous system are shot to shit. These women are unfulfilled. They are unhappy. They are not living in their purpose. They are not living out their dreams. So don't make getting a man and getting married the focal point of your life. Sweet Jesus, I am begging you, take this from a woman in her 40s. Don't you fucking do it. Do not censor a man. Censor yourself. Don't be envious of none of these women with a man, with the marriage, because that does not mean that she's winning, because I tell you, 9 times out of 10, she's not. She's not.
These are two things I wish I would have been told before I had gotten married, now that I am divorced, that I wish my younger self would have chewed upon before I had even thought about getting married. The first thing is, I would tell my younger self is, don't commingle your finances. Do not commingle your finances. Ensure that you have your own separate account, that you have your own money going into, that only you track. It's one thing to have a shared account that you both agree to put some X amount in for shared expenses, but you have to remember that you are a separate entity outside that relationship. My divorce financially ruined me. I'm very honest with you. I lost everything. Even though I made double my ex-husband's salary. That's not even a joke. I made double his salary when I was working in higher ed, and I carried the insurance and was putting most of the money into that house that we had owned and all the like, right? But when that divorce happened and we had to split everything 50-50, even though I was now building a new business and did not have that income, it didn't matter. So I really did get fucked in the end, and have now had to rebuild from literally scratch. But that's the second thing I would tell myself. You've already shown yourself, Nicole, that you can build from scratch. So what makes you think that if you have to leave that relationship, you can't do it again? I stayed too long in that relationship because I was scared, and I can admit that right now. I was scared to think about building at that time a career, having a young child, and realizing that the relationship I was in was not working for either one of us. But I had shown myself by building in other people's houses, building offices, institutes, training presidents, developing new concepts, getting $1 million of grants, building a fucking institute, an Ivy League institution in 1 year's time. Right? I had shown myself I could take nothing and build it into something, but I couldn't apply that to myself until I had to. And now I'm building from the ground up once again, because if I made that money, if I could do that thing in those plantation systems, what happens if I take that institution and make myself the center of it, make myself the institution? Imagine what I could build. And that's exactly where I am now.
It's always money. Money amplifies a lot of things in people. Something that I've known for a while is it's not safe to mix finances in marriage. It's always important to have your separate thing going on, your separate account, like your separate business in your name. Just be the safest you can be. Your spouse does not need to know everything you have for yourself. And it's always wise to get with someone that has more finance-wise. I like the part where she said, though she had to start from scratch, if she had built from scratch from the marriage, she could do it again. That one statement was very powerful. And some women they go downhill like after most of these divorces. But it's very important that you dust yourself up. Find your way up there by yourself. Always find your way up there. Bad things happen, marriages end, but don't stay down there. To me, how I see marriage is just a part of your life. If it fails or ends, it doesn't mean that your life ended or has failed. So you just have to find a way to like build up back and get yourself together. I don't know what you all think. Like, don't forget to leave your comments and what you all think down below in the comment section.
Hi, good morning. I'm officially divorced, 32 and starting over, and here are some of the things that I've learned. A man will show you in many ways if he wants you, and if he doesn't show you that he wants you, leave. The first time. Okay, maybe the second time, but pay close attention to the tiny things in the beginning of the relationship that kind of like rub you a little bit. You're like, wait, I didn't like that. Pay attention to those things, because those are the things that are going to compound over time, and it will eventually lead to a breakup and or a divorce, because they're not going to change. Last but absolutely not least, if he tells you that he is not the man for you, believe him. Believe him the first time, because he knows who he is, and he knows who he's showing to you, and he knows he ain't shit. He knows. So believe him. He knows that he's pretending. He knows he's playing games, and he knows. Find yourself another man. This one can go. Okay? Okay.
Something I've come to realize often from divorced women, in marriage, love is not enough. In the second clip, she mentioned it. If he's not putting in the work and just professing his love for you, it's obviously not enough. Just loving someone does not mean that y'all are compatible. There are things that are more important than just romance or vibes. Marriage is very serious, and the government takes marriage very serious. So it's a very huge commitment. I would not advise anyone to go into marriage because they love someone, because you have a spark, you're compatible physically. There are more important things to put into consideration aside romance. The finance, your compatibility, if both of you align in thinking. Is he a religious person? Do you know what he stands for? Do you know his friends? What kind of friends does he have? What does he think of women? How does he treat his mom? How does he treat his sisters? What are his ideologies about feminism, about women? Does he think a woman is beneath a man? Is he one of these manosphere men, these red pill men? And basic things also in the home. Imagine you being a carefree person and being with a perfectionist, a person that probably has OCD, that likes their things being kept in a certain way. There are lots of things that are very important in marriage. To me, vibes and love, romance is not enough. I don't have to be married to know that. Yeah.
Here are 3 things I would have done differently when I got married if I had known what I know now. The first thing I would have done differently is to have a lot of things in writing. A lot of promises, a lot of things that we've said between ourselves, have it in writing. If it means you putting down your assets that you came in with together and write them down and then basically specify what you plan to do with them at the end if the marriage doesn't work, I would advise that you do that and make sure you get a lawyer to make it a legally binding document, get it signed and stuff. I would advise that because it just makes things easier if you do plan on getting a divorce later on. Second thing I would decide, or I would have done with myself, is also prep my mind if, for the worst to come. I know it sounds very bad, but the truth is I would have sat down and really considered where I was, who I was with, and the outcome of how our negative moments go, because a lot of us get married on the whim of the happy moments, but we don't consider the bad moments. And unfortunately, the way life works is sometimes you can have a bad moment for a long period of time. So I would ask myself, can I cope with this bad period that if it was prolonged, maybe life was doing life and we couldn't necessarily be the most happiest version of ourselves? Could I cope with the not so happy version? Could I cope with the version of them that maybe might not necessarily be the most romantic or sweetest or lovely or whatever? I would have asked myself those questions, because that would then determine my ability to do forever with someone. And then the third thing I would have done differently until tomorrow is not have a big wedding. Okay, now this isn't to say don't have a big wedding. Celebrate everything. If you are someone who wants a big wedding, please celebrate and have fun. I'm just saying, from my point of view, I didn't really know. I mean, I knew what I was getting into. I mean, we all know what we're getting into, but the truth is, I just always had this delusional mindset that when I get married, things will get better. That is a lie. Don't lie to yourself. When you get married, everything else will be pronounced. Whatever was once there will begin to be magnified and highlighted, and from there you can then decide to make your move on how you want to move. But pretty much whatever was there just becomes amplified.
I feel like these men often reveal themselves way before they get into marriages with their partners. But sometimes women don't do their research. Oftentimes it's just romance and love that blinds the eyes of a lot of women not to be realistic enough to see the red flags. So these men always reveal themselves. Like, we are just the ones that turn a deaf ear sometimes and think we're special. If a man is telling you this is who I am, he's telling you this is what he stands for, you need to believe him and run for your life. Or you spot any sort of toxic behavior in a man and you think you're going to be the special one, I think you're being delusional. If a man has a history of beating on women, abusing women, being manipulative, being a narcissist, don't even think twice. You're going to experience it as well. If a man is prideful, he's condescending toward other people, you think he's not going to do that to you. These are usually the warning signs that a lot of women see and they think they're special. He's not going to do it to me. Oh, he loves me. But life does not work that way. A character that is inherently in somebody cannot suddenly change because it's you. Character is like smoke. You can't hide it.
So what have I learned from being married as a Black woman and being the sole provider and divorced and now dating? Bonjour, mes amis, joui, Dr. Lori, heathen, Paris dating coach, postmenopausal woman, artist, grand-mère, woman who is single and loves her life. Well, I think I realize that I am worthy of love and care, and that whether I have a partner or not does not determine if I'm a worthwhile woman or human being. So I don't define my worth by whether or not I am booed up or not. Marriage is a contract. We think we marry for love, but most of the time we don't. Women are fed bullshit that they aren't anything unless they are married and unless they have children. Now, mind you, I don't regret getting married and I don't regret having children. I would get married and have children again. I would just be very cognizant of what I was getting into, and I would have a prenup. Or, like my patients used to say, you don't have to be married to have children. You don't. I would not let a man control my life ever again, like my ex controlled everything and I ceded control to him. I can't really blame him necessarily for that. I actually allowed him to control things. I would never do that again. I would never cede control of my life to anybody. You have to make yourself happy, bottom line. I was in a marriage, in a relationship, and I was miserable. So being in a relationship does not necessarily mean you're going to be happy. And I will say this, if you're going to be the sole provider in a relationship, you need to have a conversation that that's what it's going to be. Not just let it happen by default. Sometimes shit happens. Sometimes people lose their jobs. But don't get into it at the start. Love yourself first and foremost. Ask yourself, is marriage really worth it?
I like that she said love yourself, because I think there's a correlation between a woman loving herself and a woman being the sole provider. Because to me, I don't think it's a good idea for a woman to ever be the sole provider in a relationship. Yeah, I understand the place of circumstance. Anything can happen. He could lose his job, but that's different. But When a woman goes into a marriage with the intent to provide, you're the only one with a good job and you're the only one that can provide. It has a lot to do with self-esteem and self-worth and self-love.
I think one of the biggest regrets in marriage for me is that I wished I'd picked a man that had friends. Because a man without friends is practicing friendship on you, is practicing loyalty. And I'm not talking about having siblings because they all drank from the same well. I'm talking about having other men in his life that he has relationship with that are standard bearers, that hold him accountable, that he can lean on and be vulnerable with. If he doesn't have that already, then he's practicing with you. Because we might think that in that moment when he shares, oh, this is the first time that I've ever been able to be vulnerable and open with anyone, is a flex. I think it's more like a warning sign. Because the minute that there is any tension and conflict, guess what? He is closing down. He is shutting down shop. Because he hasn't developed the emotional bandwidth or the relationship muscle required for a healthy coupling. And again, I'm not talking about familial relationships because they are fraught with all kinds of obligations. And so where he may show up for his family does not mean that he will show up for you.
That's an entirely new perspective for me. Yes, I've always known that you're not supposed to be everything to your partner. It's important for husbands and wives to have their friends, their buddies they have fun with, and not necessarily expect all that in a partner. It usually goes the wrong way. Why? Because I would say because it's too much expectation on one person. To me, that it can breed over familiarity. It can make the marriage boring. That's over dependency on each other. But from her perspective, it's an entirely new perspective as a man that does not have friends, does not have any social network, has not developed his social skill. He has not learned to accommodate another person. Yeah, that perspective, it makes sense to me. So yeah, lesson learned.
Divorce taught me some things I wish that I had known sooner. I learned that my well-being is my responsibility, not something I hand over to someone else and hope that they take care of it. I learned that what you tolerate doesn't get better. It actually becomes your standard. And this whole idea of keeping the peace, whose peace was I keeping? Certainly wasn't mine. But that doesn't work. Trying to keep the peace actually just delays the problem. Real peace comes from speaking up, not abandoning yourself just to try to avoid conflict. And I had to learn that boundaries are essential. Boundaries are a true indicator of how you choose yourself. Because at the end of the day, the life you're living is a reflection of what you're willing to accept.
If you're a divorced woman or a married woman and you have some nuggets to share with us, kindly drop it down below in the comment section. I would love to hear from y'all. I would love to hear new perspectives and new lessons, basically. And on that note, we've come to the end of this video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope this was insightful. And I remain your girl Joy. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel in case you're not subscribed, and of course hit the notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop a video. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.